One of the most freeing and useful beliefs and insights that someone gave me early in my 20s was start before you know how. There's something about being an adult that we hold ourselves to this really high standard of perfection. And it may have come from parents, it may have come from coaches, it may have come from society or the school system to always strive for perfection and don't do anything unless you are the best person at the job. And there's an elements of that I think are helpful that lead us to become effective, but it's not the most kind and caring thing that we can do for ourselves. It's a fairly rigid structure that limits our opportunities or our willingness to try anything new. And life isn't about reaching a destination. Life is about exploring and getting to understand what it's like for you to be a human, to have this human experience, to be able to explore and understand what are things that you really appreciate about life and things that you may not agree with. And in your own way, whether you try to change them or embrace and promote and advocate for the life that you really like leading, none of that can be accomplished if we don't start where we are today. We're not ready. We're not trained. We don't know the best strategies. We haven't made the beginner mistakes to understand how to build the life that we want, to complete and start the businesses that we want, to bring our products to service, to create content. None of us were trained on how to do any of these things. We don't expect children to learn how to walk. We don't expect eighth graders to perform at a college graduate level. I know my parents say they were nervous about us socializing in a world that we didn't speak English in, but they let us out there. And a story that I really appreciate that my mom tells me about me when I was younger, and I wish I would have remained truer to that kid version of myself. She asked me when I was in kindergarten. I didn't speak English. I went to an all-English school. I only spoke Spanish. And she had asked me, how are you going to do it? How are you going to make friends if you don't speak English? And my 4-year-old or 5-year-old wisdom was, I don't need to speak the same language to make friends. Like it was an obvious thing. Friendship didn't require the same language. 4-year-old, 5-year-old version of myself understood that, yeah, you just do it. Yeah, there's no discipline, there's no rules to follow. You just are friends. You just go out and play. You figure it out. You figure it out along the way. And as adults, there's so many things, there's so many conversations that I have with people that want to start their businesses that as we uncover why and what specific business they're interested in, it's oftentimes more about allowing themselves to be a beginner. It's allowing themselves to make mistakes. It's allowing themselves to have a sense of freedom and enjoyment and creativity about the way that they approach their work. It's oftentimes work situation or the culture at work is not what they want, and so they think business ownership is the only solution. And in actuality, some clients have come and left our conversations with saying, well, I know I don't want to start a business, but I know a little bit more about the kind of work, the kind of culture I want to have around myself, the kind of culture I want to develop around my friends, my relationships, my kids, my approach with them, for them to be a bit more freer than I currently felt before I walked into the meeting. And it's wild that as a 20-year-old, I felt I had to live up to a certain standard. I would talk to mentors and they were 35 and 40, and although they were still climbing the career ladder, they had more freedom and more enjoyment of the way they approached their life than I did. And it had nothing to do with the level of position, the level of money that they made. It was a shift in philosophy. It was a shift in mindset of the way they wanted to approach their work. Yes, we're probably all going to be constrained to this financial need to pay for our living. But the way that you approach that lifestyle, the way that you approach your career development can be entirely different. In college, I had a few friends that were studying musical theater, and it was one of those degrees that I knew certain people would view as like art history. What's the value in that? What job are you going to get? But I was jealous of them because they had an energy about themselves. They had an enjoyment of life that they were just going to figure it out. This was the thing they wanted to study from 18 to 22. And yes, maybe it wasn't going to lead to a career progression the likes of business majors, accountants, computer science was going to lead to, but they were going to enjoy these years. And I think they actually learned something more important in the way that you can approach life like a performance. You can approach life like a play. In some roles, you have a role to play, and maybe you memorize your lines really well, and you convince everyone that you were an amazing actor. You were an amazing CEO. But at the heart of it, whenever you step away from the role, you know it was a performance, and you go back to just playing out your life. You go back to just improving everything about your life and figuring things out as you go. Another personal example is my brother actually changed careers maybe 5-6 years ago. And during the time he had left architecture, what was viewed as a very great career, stable career, it had high prestige. My parents really liked it. And then when he decided to go into software development It was something completely outside of what he understood. My parents came from a different country. They were built old school. They knew technology was important, but it wasn't as prestigious in their eyes because of their upbringing. And so although my brother was going and actually he took a big bet on himself, he left his job, invested in himself, and it took him a while to really get established and to get the work. But all the while, he really enjoyed the learning process. And now he does look back and sometimes wishes that he would have known what he knows now or knew different best strategies to learn how to code because it could have saved him time. But whenever we have these type of sit down conversations, we often say, well, what else are we supposed to do? What would have happened if we reached our destination faster? We would have found another destination that we would have wanted to, and then we would have embarked on that journey. So does it really matter that it took me this long to get into software development? That now he's 31, 32, has a remote job that he really enjoys, does work that he finds incredibly fulfilling. Does it really matter how long it took there? Because he's going to enjoy that career for the next 30, 40 years. So does it really matter? Yes, we want to accomplish our goals incredibly fast. I have a very, very small YouTube channel. It'd be great if, and by the snap of a fingers or by the release of this video, if I had 500 subscribers or 2,000 subscribers or 1 million subscribers. But if I want to just continue expressing these thoughts and hopefully help a few people for the rest of my life, I know the work that I'm doing I find valuable in my local community. Sometimes these videos serve as conversations that I wish I could have had with myself when I was 15, 16, 18, and maybe I would have listened, maybe I wouldn't have. But if it does help, awesome. And I know I like doing these kind of conversations. I know I like mentorship and I like the process of people investing in other people's development. So this is something that I want to continue doing for the rest of my life. Does it matter how big the channel gets? Does it matter how long it takes for me to be able to have some financial resources if I already have a job that helps me pay the bills? This is more of a creative outlet. And I know there's some benefits and opportunities that I have because of the job and the stability that I'm in. But when it comes to approaching life with a playful attitude, aside from just surviving, what we're looking for is human flourishing. It's not just survival anymore. Most of us, if we have a phone, if we have access to the internet, we probably already have met those Maslow's hierarchy of needs. What we're really looking for is connection, sense of belonging, human flourishing, fulfillment. It's these greater ideals. And if the whole point of life is to have a human experience, does it matter when we reach that ideal? It's already about the journey. You're going to learn, you're going to figure things out, you're going to build amazing relationships because people are going to teach you and mentor you in the industry that you want. Why are we trying to shortcut these things? Why are we trying to hold ourselves to this rigid standard of, I want to be a professional today. I want to be incredibly competent today. If we could snap our fingers and be at our destination, I actually don't think most of us would appreciate it, or I don't think most of us would enjoy it. Yes, getting out of survival is one aspect, and I think that there's a certain advice that I think is important from going to a dire situation to getting to baseline and survival. But once we're in baseline and survival, I don't think we have the rush. I don't think the rush is helpful. I actually think it might hinder us and prevent us from even trying and starting than saying, I'm going to improv, I'm going to figure this out, I'm going to laugh at my mistakes, I'm going to connect with other people and understand how they were able to overcome their mistakes and how my psychology may be different from theirs, but hearing their journey, I may be able to find a creative solution that works for me, which may help the next person, which may help the next person that is hearing all the advice that they're getting from someone, but it's just not resonating. And you figuring out how you solve your problems from a beginner, from your standpoint, is the reason why they are going to also be able to embark on the journey. It's not success if we do it by ourselves. We need teammates. We want to develop the next generation. Why are we cutting ourselves off from that? Why are we cutting away the insights from wanting to be perfect before we're starting, which prevents us from starting in the first place? It's just not helpful. And so I think it's important to start at where we are and believe in yourself and believe in the world that you will be able to figure it out. And at the end of the day, we can't take our time with us. When our time is out, our time is out. So might as well enjoy the time that we have, figure it out, help the next person along by the insights that we gain, connect with other people who are willing to share their insights with us, appreciate them for the sacrifices that they made in their life to then be able to give us the insight so then we can apply it in our lives. Just a much better, healthier, kinder approach. What do you think? Does this reflect your own experience? Let me know in the comments. And if you watch the whole video, you might as well like the episode and subscribe to the channel. And as always, thanks for listening.